Okay, so yeah, obviously over the past couple of weeks my upload schedule has it hasn't really been that good, to say the least. But you know, no more time for slacking. I'm going to be getting back on that YouTube grind, and I'm going to be uploading about 3 to 4 times every single week, sometimes even more, as well as live streaming on the side. Also, at any point in today's video, if you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like. Can we try and smash 20,000 likes? That would be insane. I don't even expect that because I've been gone for so long, but that would make me so happy. As well, if you do have a myth you would like me to test in the next or future episodes of the Fortnite Mythbusters, make sure to go down in the comments down below right now and drop a comment of a unique myth for a pretty good chance to have it featured. Also, while you're down there, drop a comment of how many total wins you have in Fortnite. We've been through just about 9 seasons, so I'm not going to be surprised if some of you guys have like 2,000, 3,000 wins. Anyways guys, without further ado, let's get right on into today's episode. Jumping straight into the first myth. The first myth is, will you take fall damage if your shadow bomb gets removed while you're in mid-air? Now, in-game testing this out, it was actually pretty easy. I went into creative mode and built a massive platform up pretty high in the sky, to the point where if you were to just jump off regularly, you of course would die to fall damage. Also, before testing this myth, I made sure I went into the settings and that the actual fall damage was enabled, because in the last episode I tested out a myth with a cannon to see if fall damage were a thing, and a lot of people called me out on that and I felt pretty bad, so I made sure that it was on this time. So I threw a shadow bomb at my feet, and if you don't know what shadow bombs are already, when your player is reappearing, there's a little heartbeat sort of thing effect where the player slowly beats back in and you could see the outline of him over time. Now, usually if you're standing still, it will take about 4 beats for your player to fully reappear, but when you're in mid-air, it will continue beating until you touch the ground, as you can see here. Instead of beating 4 times like regular, it went up an extra beat or 2, which overall just kind of kept me from taking any fall damage, kept me invisible, and this is definitely a pretty cool tactic for if you don't want to take any fall damage. Jumping into the next myth. The next myth is, what happens if you throw a Boogie Bomb at someone who is flying in a Slipstream? Now, testing this one out was a little bit more tricky because of course your player is moving, and I had to use my second account on my iPhone in order to have a player in the lobby to test this out with. Me and my second account, we did a glitch to get back to the spawn island, so we had the entire creative menu to spawn ourselves in some Boogie Bomb, and luckily just about everything works in creative mode on the spawn island, so no need to worry about any funny business. I built up a little bit of a platform, since you are now able to build inside of the Slipstreams, and put a wall, and had my second count kind of just glide straight past it. Now luckily when I threw the Boogie Bomb, I timed it perfectly for my second count to get affected by it, and as you can see, for a split second he stands up like he wants to dance, but then he just goes straight back into the skydiving position with the disco ball floating above his head, which was pretty interesting. I honestly think it's kind of weird how you could see that he stands up while flying, wanting to dance, and then he just goes straight back into the flying position. It would be pretty cool though if it were to kick him out of the Slipstream and just fall straight down. It would actually be a useful tactic for some people. Very similar to the last myth. The next myth is, what happens if you get Boogie Bombed and then you jump into a Slipstream? Now, this is a myth that could actually happen to you in the middle of a game. A lot of people are nowadays carrying around Boogie Bombs because of course it kicks people out of ballers, and people notice how overpowered they were once they saw Tifu kinda using them a lot. Anyways, in game when you are Boogie Bombed and your player is dancing, if there is a platform in the middle of the Slipstream and you stand on it, your player will continue to dance but kind of be pulled around a little bit by the Slipstream. Totally manageable though. But as soon as you jump, it kind of does exactly like the previous myth, where you go into the skydiving position and the disco ball is floating above your head. Now, if you are Boogie Bombed and you go immediately into the skydiving position and want to get back onto the ground, but the disco is still above your head, luckily you will no longer dance. The Slipstream basically just cancels out the entire emote, and you're basically good to go. This is actually pretty interesting and very similar to if you are Boogie Bombed and the storm does end up hitting you, it will totally cancel it out, and you basically could do whatever from there on out. Definitely though, something that I did not know, and this could definitely happen to you in the middle of even your next game. Jumping into the next myth. The next myth is, can you get stuck by a clinger while you're invisible from a shadow bomb? This myth I tested out in creative mode with my second account once again, and he threw down a shadow bomb at his feet. Of course he went invisible, and stood still. From there, with my second count standing still, I threw the clinger in the exact same position where he was, and surprisingly the clinger did end up sticking to him, and it kind of exploded like regular. Now of course you don't really need to worry about this happening in a real game, because of course no one's gonna throw a clinger if they don't know that you're there, or I don't know, nobody really carries clingers nowadays and throws it at people who are invisible from a shadow bomb. It's kind of like a shot in the dark. Going into the next myth is, does using the air vents on the roof make you bounce higher, similar to the bounce pad and launch pad meta that was here a couple months ago? Now if you didn't know already, before the bounce pads were vaulted, there was this meta that people would use which would make them bounce extra far with the launch pad. If you were to place down a wall and then an arc in between, you bounce on the bounce pad, it'll kind of push you down from the arc, and then it'll launch you extremely high, just to say the least. Does this exact same thing happen with the air vents that are on the roofs in, say, Tilted Towers or even the mall? Now I tested this out to see if I could somehow make this work, but after going in depth and trying as many things as I can, you could still see that you still have the purple effect, the kind of gravity effect after launching off of the vent. When you do hit the launch pad, you bounce the exact same height as if you were to jump on the launch pad regularly without the effect either. This was kind of a bummer, but not really needed, because of course we do have the slipstreams which get us around the map extremely quick, and there's plenty of these all around the mall as well as Tilted Towers. Jumping into the next myth is, what happens when a supply drop lands on top of a blimp? Currently, if you go over to Tilted Towers or even the mall and you look up in the sky, you'll see a couple of blimps just kind of going around in a circle, minding their own business. You can't land on them, you can't go up to them with a baller and grapple onto them, fly around. It's just literally a blimp that is kind of useless in the sky. A whole ton of people were asking me what happens when a supply drop does land on top of a blimp, and I took a couple hours out of my day to try and make this happen for you guys. To do this, I went into Team Rumble because of course tons and tons of supply drops spawn in Team Rumble, and I had an end zone at Tilted Towers almost every single game, and I just kind of AFK'd and watched just about every single supply drop that came down. Now with there being literally over 20 supply drops in the end zone, I only had this once. Only one time out of maybe 5 or 6 games did a supply drop actually collide with the blimp, and the outcome was pretty surprising. Now sadly the replay file didn't save because it was a custom match, and I'm kind of pissed off at it too, as well as my shadow play. It was literally updating the moment this happened, so I couldn't press my button to save the last 10 minutes of the game. But luckily only a couple seconds after, I opened up OBS and started recording, and you could see that when the blimp did end up colliding, it kind of started glitching out and it was kind of teleporting down instead of smoothly kind of gliding down like normal. So I guess if a supply drop does end up colliding with a blimp, it will just go straight through it. It won't stand on top of it. It'll go through it, then it'll slowly teleport down, similar to if you have a supply drop land on a platform very high up in the sky. You break the platform, it'll kind of like glitch down, and nothing too special happens. The supply drop is still able to be opened. I'm actually pretty mad because I could literally see the replay file of the game that this happened, but of course it doesn't show up in game. I don't know why, I don't know what's wrong with it. I mean, if any of you guys know how to fix like a corrupted replay file, that would be awesome if you could hit me up on Twitter and fix this for me. Jumping into the last and final myth, this myth is, what happens when multiple people revive a player at the same respawn van at the exact same time? Now this was a myth I tested out in a couple episodes ago, but I still see so many comments and so many people are requesting this that I have to toss it in just one more time in case you guys missed it. Now in this myth, I had a couple friends of mine as well as a viewer. If you guys don't know already, I choose a lot of people to help me out with myths from Instagram at Nexiph, so make sure you go drop me a follow, as well as Twitter at it's Nexiph, and my Discord, discord.gg/Nexiph. What a nice little plug. But when we did test this out in game, I had my teammate dead as well as my friend. His teammate was killed as well, and we went to the reboot van and literally pressed the button to reboot our friends at the exact same time. Now when we did reboot it, we literally counted down from the time when we began all the way to the very end, and it was at almost basically the exact same time. And it's basically like a 50-50 chance. You can't reboot 2 people at the exact same time, sadly. It's a little bit of a bummer. That would be pretty cool though. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, make sure to leave a like, and also subscribe if you are new to the channel. Make sure to go drop a comment of a unique myth for a pretty good chance to have it featured in the next or future episodes, and I will see you guys next time.